Yu-Gi-Oh! Mint.com is now TradingCardMint.com. Please check out their selection of over 20,000 cards with prices cheaper than TCG Player.
Alright, what is up YouTube? I'm Cordy. We're going to be finally doing the deck list that I'm pretty sure a lot of people have been curious about. So this is I believe this list came from Hong Kong. Came across Twitter. I was very intrigued with it because it was like the first time we kind of started to see Granblue in premium format. And we've kind of been testing this deck a little bit, wanted to give our opinions on it, talk about it, because I think Granblue is one of the more underexplored options available in premium format. So guys, please check out our friends at TradingCardMint.com down below in the description. Please enter MCO40 on checkout, save you guys selves a little bit of money. One of the biggest complaints I always hear is, why do they not restock cards? Pick up what you want on set release or a little bit afterwards. Most of the time, they're very well stocked on new releases. Not so much on older stuff, but that's not a problem. You might always find something that you need that might be in stock, so don't underestimate the potential for power. So, Granblue is, in fact, Protect. You know what that means? Megiddo OTK. So this deck has one thing going for it, and one thing, well, really, this. We have never really had a chance to kind of abuse this card. And one of the biggest attack patterns that you can get out of this is literally just You guys starting to understand what's going on here. And depending on the situation, sometimes we just have Cutlass back here chilling. So this is not your most optimal move, but you'll swing, this dies, hello. Swings, this dies, Yep, swing, attack, skill, bring back. We did it. You don't always need this. You can go for some crazier stuff, but realistically, I mean, having 4 dragons is not always going to happen. I will say this, I think the most important thing to get out of this deck when you're playing it is you are playing a deck that is milling for its OTK turn. Most of the times these guys come in from anywhere from 6,000 to 7,000, and it's usually about your last turn when you're kind of doing your thing. I would say this deck is a very good example of Dredge from Magic the Gathering. You start milling to set up your initial combo pieces, and depending on where things go for you, it might not be a good game. It could potentially be a decent game, but you have to understand you are playing a deck that has a lot of integral pieces that you obviously want them discarded. So we're going to start things off with 4 copies of Basskirk. So on ride, you get a gift marker. That's the best part. This card, actually, we were talking about this. So as a first ride, if you're forced to go first, you do actually get the counter boss 1, soul boss 1, call a card from your drop zone to rear guard. So it was actually pretty important. It was coming up a lot. A lot of these new abilities, your trade-off, honestly, is the first turn you ride to 3, it becomes a powerful ability. The game kind of shifted back to more of a dominant first position. So just these abilities are free for really no reason. Plus getting gift markers for no fucking reason. So good. And then the other grade 3 we play is Skull Dragon. This guy does gain 2k for each card in your drop zone, and then obviously you can't normal call this, but it doesn't really matter because obviously it's not going to do its thing. But remember, depending on when you first ride this, this can be an extra attacker because it will gain the 2k for each card in your drop zone on Vanguard Circle. But this is the card that you're going to use to kill your opponent. It's almost like it's a better whale. I definitely... They did some interesting stuff when they designed this card, that's for sure. And then the last grade 3 is Nightstorm. Obviously, you don't want to see this card as your ride, and I understand that, but this is another combo piece that will grant you additional attacks, so something to understand. 9 grade 3s is perfectly fine. I mean, worst case scenario, this is a strike fodder, right? So, there's that. Now, grade 3s, we are playing 3 copies of the new Rune Shade. On attack, being able to mill has actually been pretty crucial. Getting to the 10 and drop zone in the early game is kind of hard, but the only thing we care about this is swing, mill, smiley face. So, loading up the graveyard, I mean, sometimes you'll mill triggers, but it's life. Now, this deck is playing 3 Cannoneers. One of the things that we found still extremely important to this deck is control. And Skeleton Cannoneer gives you that control, all in one defensive package that can be used on your opponent's turn, and to also draw free cards. Like, it's almost like these well-rounded archetypes and old generic support are good. Then 2 copies of Columbard. This is the one on boost, be able to counterblast 1, revive something. Hey, he's Columbard. Now, this is just mainly used to set up additional columns and additional pieces. This card's not particularly that great, but I understand why you play this as another combo piece. Could be something better, but for the most part, I think it's just there in case it's one of those things. And then 1 copy of our friend Serpent, because we need to make sure that we get our resources controlled. And honestly, I don't think people... We're not playing the countercharge heals, but you do need countercharging, so this is something important. Now, for grade 1s, this guy. This card is nuts. So, when this card is wrote upon, you can put a card from your hand into your soul for counterblast 1, mill 3, and then choose a card in your drop zone and return it to your hand. What were they thinking for this? Like, in terms of application and theory, like, this is actually nuts. I love when wrote upon cards. Thank you, Ushra. Now, this one's kind of a little bit worse. So, it has to bind a copy of itself from the drop zone to call itself to get a countercharge 1. It's 6k, which is fine, but hey, they made a better Dancing Cutlass. I'm not going to complain about that. We needed that. 3 copies of Stride Fodders. I need these, honestly. This list is playing 1 copy of Gus the Djinn as a perfect shield. And then, of course, we have draw trigger ones. But a normal unit perfect guard, I don't see any reason not to play this, honestly. Like, so good. Now, our starter is Guiding Zombie. We get the most value out of this because it's a free draw. We are also playing 1 copy of Grenache. We don't start with this. You'll actually probably end up getting this as you're milling through the deck or setting up through your combo pieces, so you get your countercharging. Chappie the Ghost to mill off those important pieces. Honestly, everything you need is right here. And then we have 3 copies of the Gust the Djinn, the draw trigger. Love this card. So good. 4 perfect cards, of course. 4 copies of Rough Sea Banshee. Your Stride Zone lets you ramp up your soul with draw power. So why would you not be playing the best crit you have? And then 4 copies of this little guy right here. Additional crits. We're playing 1 copy of the Ghosty. Honestly, being able to return this deck for the Sackage is actually pretty important. Like, it comes up a lot. Also, the 10k power. It's so good. And then 4 copies of the little Ghosty heals, because 20k shield value is pretty good. Now, for the G-Zone, we are playing 2 copies of Grenache. Honestly, purging the soul to load up a field for no commitment whatsoever is what this deck always wanted. So it can do it for free. In addition to that, you also can do it with this guy in the form of gaining a crit +1. Anybody else find it interesting that we can just load up our field for free in so many ways? This build is playing 4 copies of Songer, additional attacks. We were talking about wanting to cut this for something else, but I don't know what else you want to cut it for. What it does is, it's fine. 1 copy of the card that makes the world go round, Moegito. As I explained earlier with the OTK pattern, this will be your initial win condition. You will use this to rip your opponent apart. I didn't actually think there would be a time where Megiddo, outside of like the standard Nightmare or the Night Rose combos, would be relevant, but we've arrived at this time again. So this 1 copy of Obadiah, just kind of set up, honestly, depending on how things are going. 1 copy of Rock Tome, gotta fix those bad hands. 2 copies of Deep Corpse for milling, and 1 copy of Negranora for more of those plays that we kind of come to know in love with this deck. Hey Chappie, welcome back. So this whole deck is just based on trying to OTK your opponent while building through milling your deck and setting up the initial combos to do so. Honestly, the deck is very fun. I am very surprised by the power structuring of the deck and just the overall power level in general from this. So guys, please check out our friends tradingcardmint.com down below in the description. Remember to enter MCO40 on checkout, and guys, I'm out. Peace.